Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for LinkedIn and self-branding session. My name is Mausama Zahid. I am the president of Pakistani Women in Computing and the main organizer for this Get High 2020 event. Sorry for the technical issues yesterday, but I hope that you can get this session today via Facebook Live. I will be monitoring the chat for any of your questions, so please feel free to ask your questions in the chat. And I have some exercise for you to do on your LinkedIn profile today. So hopefully you'll be able to update your LinkedIn profile today after this session. You heard from yesterday a lot of great speakers about resume, about how to choose what career you should go for, what roles you should go for. There was interview guidelines, as well as how do you make your very good first strong impression. So today, this focus for today, the whole day is about the 4 tracks. We have engineering, we have data, we have design, and we have PM. So we have individual talks about those tracks, and then this session is for LinkedIn. So beyond the career fair, how you can update your LinkedIn and can be out there updating your profile and can stand out from the rest of the LinkedIn profiles that are out there. So thank you so much again for joining me. A little bit introduction about myself. As I mentioned, I am president of Pakistani Women in Computing. If only I can move my slides. Give me 1 second. So as I mentioned, I am president of Pakistani Women in Computing. I am a principal engineering manager at Microsoft. I have been in the tech industry for over 13 years, which is a very long time for a woman in tech, especially from Pakistan. A fun fact, I have 3 girls, including twins. And the pictures on the right-hand side, on the top, is the very first time when I did my first public speaking. That was back in 2006 in front of 200 plus people, and was really nerve-wracking. And that is a reminder for me to look back and see how far I have come and what I've achieved in these years. I am super passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I take part in a lot of these volunteer organizations. So as you heard from our speakers yesterday, all of us are volunteers here. So really, really appreciate the efforts of each and every volunteer from PVIC and our allies for these prep days and also the Get Hired event. So what are we going to talk about today? This is the agenda of today. So I will talk about what is LinkedIn. I will define your professional brand. And again, this session is only specific to LinkedIn. So I'm not going to talk about your other social media presence and other things. I'm going to be focusing on LinkedIn and what is your professional brand on LinkedIn. And then we are going to talk about how do you build your LinkedIn profile. So we are going to talk about the tips of LinkedIn profile. What are must things that you should update? I will share some stats with you. This is all official LinkedIn material. I am an official LinkedIn coach. So I have got a training from LinkedIn. So that's why I'm sharing this information with all of you today. So hopefully it will be useful for all of you. We are going to talk about professional network on LinkedIn. How do you connect with other people? What are the best practices around that? And we are going to talk about how do you search for jobs on LinkedIn and internships and other things that you can do on LinkedIn. There are some extra goodies in the end as well that you might not know already. So I will share that with you. And I will leave you with an exercise to be done at home. I will share the resources with you. And hopefully when I switch over to Slack, where you all are already there, I would like to hear back from you if you're already updating your LinkedIn profile after this session or not. So let's start. So first of all, I really, really want to level set this. LinkedIn is not Facebook, it's not Snapchat, it's not Pinterest, it's not any of these other social media platforms. For example, if you are eating a donut, this is what you do if you are on any of these other social media platforms. Most probably, most of you are on Instagram. So you'll take a picture of it and put it on Instagram. What you should not do is put the same picture on LinkedIn. Why you should put a picture of donut on a LinkedIn? I'll give you an example of that. For example, if you're hoping to operate in a donut factory one day, then that picture with some text is relevant to LinkedIn. If you are thinking about a job at a company in Donut and there is some text that is relating to you, that's an example of putting that picture on LinkedIn with that information. But LinkedIn is a professional network. I cannot emphasize enough. I see a lot of content on LinkedIn which is not supposed to be there. So please don't use LinkedIn for your personal communication, for chatting with your friends, for talking about how your day is going. Talk about how your professional day is going. Talk about what you've learned today. Talk about your connections. Talk about the work that you're doing. Highlight your work there. And I'm going to emphasize that more later in this presentation about what are the things you should be doing and what you should be actually doing in the LinkedIn. So I want to start with some very basic statistics. So LinkedIn, this is a fact that out of 9 out of 10 employers actually use LinkedIn in the hiring process. So even if they have their own hiring processes, the recruiters and hiring managers tend to go on LinkedIn and actually look at your profile over there. And they actually use those tools that are in the LinkedIn hiring side of things that can actually be used to filter the candidates, to look at your profile, look at your history, look at the activity that you do on LinkedIn. So it's really, really important in this time to actually have a good LinkedIn profile. And I will define what a good LinkedIn profile looks like. Again, LinkedIn is a professional network. Use it for professional connections, not for your personal relationship, not for because you heard about something and you just want to connect with somebody. Connect with the folks that are in your domain, that could be your mentor, that could help your land you the next job that you want. So I, again, wanted to share some more stats with you about LinkedIn. So a very astonishing fact that there are more than 50 million plus employers that are currently active on LinkedIn. And there are millions of open job opportunities in LinkedIn, like every single day. So if you search, go in the job section of it, search for a particular job, you'll find so many opportunities. Again, this workshop is for you to go beyond the career fair and use LinkedIn for your career. And also to make sure that you are able to find the right tools in LinkedIn to connect with other recruiters, connect with the right mentors, connect with the right hiring managers and the recruiters. There is also this one thing a lot of people don't know, that there are more than 2.9 million groups available on LinkedIn. So like-minded people, such as if you are a data professional, you can find a group where people in that area are already there. They can ask questions about it. So please go search on those things and join that. Again, I'm going to share more things about it. How do you do that? And how do you actually connect? And how do you actually find these things? So starting with the very basic, what is your professional brand, right? That's a question a lot of people don't understand. They say, wow, do I have a professional brand? Yes, you all have a professional brand. It's a very famous quote. It's not about who you know. It's not about who knows you. It's about who knows what you know. So LinkedIn is the perfect place to tell people what you know. So that is what you should put in your profile. All the things, when I search for you on LinkedIn, I should find out what is unique about you. How do you identify a good brand? So taking an example of one of some of the very famous brands, right? How do you choose them versus another brand? So think about a company. If they have to choose you, what is unique about you that is not available with the rest of the competition? What are your unique skills? So it's really important that your professional brand reflects that. And LinkedIn is part of that professional brand. You have your online presence, of course, outside of LinkedIn as well. So be very careful what you post out there, because these days anybody can go on Google or Bing and find out all of that about you, right? So it's very important that you understand that it tells the customer about a brand, that what do you expect when you actually get that particular product. So it's the same thing with humans as well. So what is your professional brand? If I hire you, what should I expect that what I will get out of hiring you? So wait, this is a common thing. I have my own brand. Yes, you have. Yes, you have your own brand. Who are you? Your profile should tell me that who are you? it's very important that you should understand that you shape your brand online, and the way you present yourself is also very important. Again, we are going to talk about this in the profile section of it. What are the things you should put on your profile? What are the things you should not put on your profile? And we will do an exercise also so that you can update your LinkedIn profile. So there are three components of this. The first thing, as I mentioned about a brand, is the value of you. Is the value of your brand. So why choose you? Think about that question. And is your LinkedIn profile actually reflecting that or not? So go back to your LinkedIn and think about that. Why a company should choose you? This is a very important thing to think about. And I'm going to give you some pointers later in the slides about what are the things you should think about when you're putting stuff online, especially on LinkedIn. The second thing is show that you are the right choice, right? And the way you show that you are the right choice is actually putting out your skills, showing them the network that you have, and also the information. So these days, LinkedIn articles are really important as well. So if you are, let's say you blog about it in other medium, put them in LinkedIn as well, either link them or put them in LinkedIn articles itself. So that is one way of showing your skills, showing your information, showing the projects that you have done. Or you can connect that with your GitHub, anything like that. So your profiles, your technical profile on LinkedIn is very important. So show that you are the right choice by showing your skills, your network, and the information that you know about, the technical skills and stuff that you know about. Then the thing that a lot of us actually miss, I get this question a lot of time from my mentees, should we add or volunteer work on LinkedIn or not? That's a common question that people ask, right? There's another question a lot of people ask is, should I add about any of the extracurricular work that I do? For example, if you're maintaining a society in your school, or if you are doing some Red Cross volunteer work, yes, LinkedIn is the place to put that. Resume, maybe not. I asked yesterday, you heard the other speaker talk about the same thing, but LinkedIn is the profile to show your roundness, the full 360-degree view of yourself, what you are. So you should put your volunteer work. There's actually a section in LinkedIn profile about volunteer work as well, all the things that you do, because they reflect your values and your goals. What are you passionate about? If you go on my LinkedIn, you'll find out all the work that I do in PVIC, all the work that I do in Anita.org, all the work that I do in Women Who Code Cloud, all of these organizations that I volunteer time for, because that is something that I am passionate about, and I want the employers to know that this is something I value. So even if I'm working with them, they should know about these things, and they should put that in your profile. So take a minute right now. If you have a pen or a paper, actually I'm monitoring the chat as well. Share 3 words that what you think your friends use to describe you, and then share 3 words that you think your colleagues would use to describe you. This is a very important step that you do that, because these words are something that we are going to use later in your LinkedIn profile. So take a moment right now. I'll take a minute pause here. I'm watching the chat here. Write down 3 words how your friends describe you, and 3 words how your colleagues describe you. It could be your, if you're not working yet, if you're a student, it could be your professor, it could be your project mates in college. So take a pause right now and write down 3 words that how people around you describe you. So I see dedicated, team player, loyal. This is awesome. So I really love that team player over there. There's somebody saying, friend says tech enthusiast, machine learning practitioner, and community member. This is awesome. Helpful, dedicated, motivated, loyal, loving, soft-hearted. Great, my friends. So the reason to do this exercise is for you to understand, as I mentioned in the quote, like it's about what people know, what you know, right? So what are the attributes that me as an employer should know about you? So those are the things you should highlight one way or the other in your LinkedIn profile. And it's very important that you try that out. You know about it, you actually look at it. I'm seeing some very great examples here. Growth mindset, reliable, go-getter, really, go-getter is really great. Detailed, passionate, humble. So right, looking at the chat here, you've got several examples of the things or the attributes you should actually think about. So there's somebody saying, their friends say that they are singer, they're creative, they're data scientists, they're jolly, and their colleagues think that they are dedicated, mentor, and passionate. So very, very good set of examples here. So the reason why I highlighted this step is that there's two perspective about you. One, that your friends and circle and things and the people that you socialize with think about you, right? We all have a different version of ourselves in everybody's mind. So that's a fact. Everybody out there has a version of us, right? So we can't change that. What are the common attributes that most of them have about us? So those are the things you should highlight. Those are your key strengths. So as your friends and as your colleagues, they could be a little bit different because of course they interact with you in different ways. But it's important for you to identify those. It's important for you to also identify the weaknesses. So I'm not going to talk about that today here, but it's the same way, think about 3 things that you're not good at, what your friends think you're not good at, and your colleagues think you are not good at. So this is a very important activity that you can do. Take a paper and pen, write the 3 things that you're good at, how your friends describe you, and also 3 things that you're not good at. And I'm seeing some really, really great there. So there's owner, fun to work with, team player, leader, teacher, awesome. Helpful, team player, flexible. So I love this word team player, right? This is very important because wherever, even if you're an individual contributor, you have to work. You cannot work in isolation. You have to work in teams. You have to work with other organizations in your company. So it's really good comments coming. Keep them coming in. I will definitely watch this chat afterwards as well. Take some notes out of this as well. So really important. Why I asked you to do this is later when you are going towards your profile section and looking at your headline and summary section, we are going to highlight these things over there. And this is really important for you to identify that these are your top 3 strengths. And these are your top 3 things or weaknesses that you have to work with. You don't have to highlight that in your LinkedIn, but that's for you to work on and actually make your profile better for future as well. So the other part of your professional brand, that's something, if you've not Googled or Bing yourself, please go ahead and do that today. Go on the internet, type your name and find out what comes out, right? Because this age, everybody is virtual. Everybody has access to internet, even the remotest areas, they have access. Anybody can go online and search for you, right? And they can find out what's your online presence. So when you search for you, what do you find? Is that the content you want your future employer to know about you or not? So very important. That's the last point in this slide, which talks about be careful what you post. And that could definitely harm your professional brand, because again, as I said, employers these days actually research you before they actually make an offer, before they actually, a lot of companies have a background check process in place as well. But the content that you put out there is really important because you're the owner of that content. It's not about just the articles that you write on Medium or LinkedIn or any of your own blogs. It's also about some of the comments that you do and other people. There's like, if let's say I'm an employer and I saw a comment by you which is not professional nature on LinkedIn, there's a high probability I would not consider you for the next step. So again, be careful on these professional networks, especially what you write, what you comment, what you put out there, because that's your online presence. That's your professional brand out there. And making a very strong LinkedIn profile makes it a Google first, and I'll show you how it happens, how you actually, it becomes like, if you search right now my name, it will show up as the first top search at the top. The way to make it is to have a unique name that is identified with you. Do not take the default that comes with your LinkedIn profile, which a lot of people do have, which is okay. But the way to stand out is to actually put your name. So my LinkedIn profile has my name in the URL itself. So that makes it top of the profile. And actually, that's really important and good to have that. So far, we talked about your professional brand, your presence on the internet. We talked about what you should do, what you should not do. We did a little bit of activity about the 3 things that are that how your friends call you and how your colleagues call you. Now we're going to switch gears about focusing on the LinkedIn profile itself, all the different parts of the LinkedIn profile. We are also going to talk about what are the things that are important when employers research for you or search for you on LinkedIn. What are the areas you should definitely update? And I'll share resources towards the end of the slides that you can take home and actually do those things at home also. So starting up, the very first step is to set up a LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, then you are in a wrong session. The first thing you should do today is to go to linkedin.com. If you're a phone, then use the App Store or the Google Play and actually go and create your LinkedIn profile. It's really important that you have a LinkedIn profile so you can start with that. Second thing, I want to very clearly differentiate between what is a profile on LinkedIn versus a resume. These two things are not equal. They're not equal. Resume is the shorter version. It's a summarized version of something that is more, I would say, aligned to the role that you're applying. So let's say you're applying for a ML engineer or an AI engineer or a data engineer or a software engineer, whatever role you're applying. The job that you're applying, your resume should be in sync with that job. And you can have multiple versions of your resume per job as well, and that's okay. What I don't like, and this is something I know yesterday Farah also touched in her session, as the other speakers also touched in your session, I think Asad also touched on the same thing, was listing all of your skills over there in your resume. That makes as a manager, what I see is that you don't know what your focus is. You don't know what you really know. So your resume should be very tailored to the job that you're applying. The job qualifications, when you look at an opening, look at the skills that they're looking for, tailor your resume with that, and that's what is the summary of resume. Resume is, as I said, a shorter version. It's supposed to be 1 page, at max 2 page. If you have years of experience, maybe 3 pages, but really nobody has time to read 3 pages. So it should be 1 page or 2 page at max. But what is a LinkedIn profile and how it is different? As I mentioned in the start of the presentation today, it's a 360-degree view of you. It talks about what you are, what you're passionate about, what your past experiences are, and what are the things that make you unique. So it is the combination of all of those things. So there are different sections in the LinkedIn, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But basically, this is a 360-degree view of you. There's a very cool feature on LinkedIn, which is about highlights. It's basically what you want to actually highlight on top of your profile, which is the summary section. And then there is in all of your experiences, there are individual sections where you can update your skills, where you can update any of the things you've done. If you've written a paper, there's a section for publications. If you've got any awards, there's a section for that as well. So again, profile of LinkedIn is something that speaks to your potential employers. It's not just one single one. It is a combination of all of the things that you have done. You don't have to make your profile like 3 pages long. Summarize that, but it has to be a 360-degree view of you. So again, cannot emphasize enough on this. Please focus and understand the difference between LinkedIn profile and a resume. Resume is a one shorter version of what your role is, what role you're applying to, and your skills should match to that. LinkedIn profile is a 360-degree view of you, who you are, what you have done in the past, what skills you have done in each of those roles, what are the extracurricular activities that you have done, what type of volunteers work you have done, and what type of other things you have done. So it's a combination of all of those things. So let's start with a LinkedIn profile. Every LinkedIn profile, good profile, starts with a great photo. I see a lot of LinkedIn profiles without a picture, first of all. That's the biggest mistake. Secondly, I see profile pictures with, like, they are cropped from a group picture where you see the head of another person next to you or somebody else next to you, or you're holding something else. I see pictures with dogs, with cats, with pets. It's okay if that's what your personality is, but the profile picture is something that should highlight who you are. These days and age, most of the phones can take really good pictures. You don't really need a really fancy equipment to actually take a great picture. So what you can do is take a very clear background, stand in front of that, look at the camera like how I'm looking at the camera right now. Make sure your head is aligned, you're looking at the camera, and then take a picture. Ask your friend to take a picture for you. It's a fact, and that LinkedIn data shows that profiles with pictures, and good pictures actually, receive 21 times more views than other profiles, and 9 times more connection requests without the profile without pictures. So it's really, really important that you have a good picture out there. Find the best spot in your home or outside. This is a good example of the picture right here. I cannot emphasize enough on it. Please, please, please take time to actually take that. So that's the first thing you have to do today. If your picture on the LinkedIn profile is not up to date, it's 6 years, 7 years old, please go today, stand in front of some mirror, light, whichever way you feel like you can represent the best. Ask your friend or your family member, somebody, to take a very good picture of you with blur background and upload that. So that's the very first thing you have to do today. Then edit your profile. So this slide is really important. I'm going to emphasize the important things over here. I do see a question in the chat which talks about, should we put all projects on LinkedIn? I'll get to that in a second in this slide actually. So what do you do? What are the important sections in the LinkedIn profile? When you click on the me icon on the top, right here, where if I can go to the right here, so that's where you can go and actually click on your homepage, which will take you to your LinkedIn profile. If you don't know this, then definitely you've not spent enough time on LinkedIn. So once you land to your landing page, this is how it looks like. This is an example of a person in their LinkedIn profile. There are several things in here. The most important things, I think, what you should do if you don't have added all the other sections, is these 4 or 5 things. The top and most important thing is to add the location and industry. This is a very common question I get on LinkedIn. People say that I'm moving locations or I want to be on remote jobs. That's all good, because in this age, a lot of roles are remote, but a lot of recruiters still search by location. That's the first thing they search by. So if you don't have a location next to you, you're already actually removing yourself from the search. So that's the first thing you should go and update. Location doesn't have to very pinpoint to a particular city. You can add like the whole state as well for US cases. If you're in Pakistan, I know some of our viewers today are also from Pakistan. It's important that you add your city, because that's the first thing most of the recruiters, and that's this slide is actually backed up by the LinkedIn data. A lot of recruiters go and search by location. So it's very important that you add your location there. Second important thing is your industry. As I mentioned, if you're starting off, you don't know what you want to do, definitely listen to the talk yesterday that Asad did about choosing the right career. If you start off without knowing what you want to do, it's very hard for an employer to know what you want to do, right? It's you who has to decide what you want to do, and your industry should reflect that. So there is an industry section, update that. If it's in the, you can update a very high level one like information technology, something like that, or you can pinpoint it. The more pinpoint you make that industry, it's highly possible that you'd show up in those search results. So again, important for you to actually update those 2 sections. The second thing is the internship and work experience. LinkedIn has option to add as many as you can. It doesn't have any restriction like a resume page restriction, so you can add as many as you can. I would suggest to actually add at least last 2 to 3 experiences for last 2 to 3 years. And if you're a student who is just graduating, of course, that's a common question. Again, in the resources, I have the pamphlet just for students that you can use and actually use that to update the LinkedIn profile. What are the things you should add over there? And I think there was a question earlier on about the project. So let's say you've done a GitHub project, then that is an experience that you add over there, and add the details about that. And the question about should we add all projects, that's up to your judgment, how long your LinkedIn profile you want it to be, how long you want somebody to scroll down, right? The good idea, I'm not a UX UI designer, but the good idea is it shouldn't be a few, like one or 2 page downs. So if it's longer than that, please cut down. So that's just a good rule of thumb. So and if you don't want to add a lot of text in there, just add the highlights, just add what you did. You must all know about the STAR method, which is the situation, task, activity, and result. Every line that you put out there in your project should reflect what was the task that you're doing, what did you do, and what were the results. It should highlight the measurements. It should highlight what did you improve. So I see a lot of projects mentioning like I did XYZ to help XYZ. That is not a good update. What you should do is, I used XYZ techniques to solve XYZ problem and improving this percentage of XYZ issue. So this is one good example of what you should put in your LinkedIn profile as your experience, as your project. You should not just mention all the tools that you just did for that project, but why did you use those tools? What did you achieve when you actually did that? So that's the important part that you put in that description. Again, I've not emphasized enough, put your volunteer experience in there, because that shows me what you are as a person, what things matter for you. Education and certifications, that's a really, really good area these days. A lot of employers search by the certifications that you've done recently, or any certifications that you've done, any courses that you've done. LinkedIn has an automatic way to actually do a certified, like they basically make sure that certificate is actually real. So you can't just like upload random pictures. So there are like, for example, if you finish a course in Coursera, there's a way to actually put that course in official certification section. So put that over there. Any courses that you've done, any HackerRank badges that you've got, any of those things, they should go in that section as well. Skills, I cannot emphasize enough. Of course, without skills, there's no point of me hiring you. So skills is very important. The skills section is really important. There's another thing that I'll talk a little bit later is about the endorsements that should go with your skills as well. So that's another thing that you should focus on. There's a question in the chat that talks about, is cover also important? Yes, it's important to me, but it might not be important to everyone. So if you don't have any cover, just put something blank over there. That's okay. If you have done some GitHub projects, something using your code, just take a snapshot of that and put that over there. So to me, cover is important, but the data doesn't show that cover is really, really important. So a lot of people will not focus on cover that much. To me, it's important if there is something visually interesting over there. A lot of people actually put some picture of if they have done some speaking engagement, if they were mentioned in some kind of blog, so they take a snapshot of that and put that over there. That's a good example of something that can go in your cover. But data doesn't show that cover is like something that can make or break. Profile picture definitely can make or break. So that's something more important. There's a question, LinkedIn recommendations really effective? Yes, I'll get to that in a second, but the recommendations are actually effective as well. But the data shows that they're not like make or break in that sense. And again, I'll share that in a slide or so. So these are the sections you should definitely update. Of course, the organization that you work with, the education certifications, the skills, and all the projects that you have done. Those are the things you should definitely update. And if you don't have location and industry, please go ahead and do that today. Then this thing, a lot of people actually ask about this. What is this headline? So headline is that one-liner, if you see on the left-hand side, then when I search for, let's say, data engineers, right? Me as a hiring manager, I'm looking for a data engineer. If I go and search for data engineers, it will find out everybody through its algorithm that has data engineer in their profile, right? Either as one or two last recent experiences or part of their headline. Based on that, the first thing I see is this. So I see a picture, I see one line about you and your name and your current position, whatever you put on your headline. That's it. So that is, again, the make or break situation for me. So through this search where I'm finding, let's say 100 people, I have to find out who should I click to actually go in more detail, who should I send message to. So that headline is, again, a make or break situation in certain cases. Some recruiters actually go and look at most of the profiles, but some do not take that extra time. They actually look at this high level view of it, and then they actually just choose based on what your headline is, what your picture looks like, and what your high level, like last summary is, right? So headline is really important. So why I asked that before, right? So I asked you to write 3 words about you. So think about if your headline reflects those 3 words about you. A good practice of headline is something about your current role should be there, something that you are passionate about should be there, and something about like a team player or something that reflects you. So if you go today, there are a lot of people have very creative headlines. There are some examples over here that you can look at. you can find out some really great examples. And people have several ways of doing that. They put that pipe signal in between them. There's a comma. There's no fixed pattern for that. But again, this headline should be one-line summary of who you are. Again, this is not an elevator pitch. This is not something that I've done XYZ. I will do this XYZ in future. It's not that. It tells me in one line who you are, what you've done recently, and what you want to be or what you're passionate about. So cannot emphasize enough. Think deep into yourself. Think about what your friends and colleagues think about you, and this headline should actually reflect that. Then the summary. This is something a lot of people don't know, that when recruiters search for these profiles, the search result actually shows only those profiles in the top which have at least 40 words or more in the summary. This is something which is built in. Again, a lot of people don't know about it. So your summary should have at least 40 words to show at the top of the search result. So the most important after your headline, picture, and your rest of your experience section is your summary section. A good exercise of how you should update your summary section is actually this over here on the slide. So start with 1 or 2 sentences about who you are. So there's a good example on the right-hand side. Second, 3 to 5 sentences about your experience, top skills, and key passions. 3 to 5 sentences, again, describe what your latest experience. Don't go 10, 15 years back what you've done. Talk about what you've done in the last 1 year or maximum 2 years, what you're passionate about, what your key skills are, and then what your key passions are. Let's say you are on a break and you're coming back to tech, right? Or you're coming back to work. Then talk about your passions, talk about the skills that you have. You don't have a recent experience, but you can talk about your volunteer work over there or something else that you've done in the recent year and how that relates to your soft skills or tech skills that you have. If you've done any certification, you can talk about that in that summary. Last 1 to 2 sentences, talk about the future goals. Talk about why a member should engage with you. What is like unique about you? What is your future? What do you want to do? What is your passion? So that's a good way to actually put stuff in your summary. There's a very good example on the left-hand side. If you go look at different profiles that are really, really good, you can find some good examples. But this is a good guideline for you to actually go and update your LinkedIn summary. And again, this is really important. If your summary is less than 40 words, you will not show up in the top results. So again, please go ahead and update your summary today. I have a question in the chat which says, let's say I'm based out of location and but I'm interested to relocate to some other location. Is there a way to locate? Yeah. So if you're based in one location but you want to locate another way, so you have 2 options. One you can do is basically in the location itself, you can say that open to relocate. So there is an option. Actually, I think it's an option to it's a drop-down option. If it's not, you can just type in that, say open to relocate. So that's another way. But location where you are right now should be there. Or you can completely remove that and just say open to relocate. That's also another way for recruiters to know that you're open. So definitely you can do that, and you can put that text there that open to relocate. A lot of roles these days are relocation, like here in US especially. So you can always put that out there that you're open to relocate. So I'll take a pause here. So far we talked about 2 main things, which were the 2 building blocks of this session. First, we talk about your presence, social media presence, your LinkedIn profile, what it's supposed to be, what's your brand. And then we talked about the different sections of the LinkedIn profile. Now we're moving on to the next or the last section of this presentation, which talks about how do you network using LinkedIn, how do you find jobs using LinkedIn. And I'll take a pause here and go through some comments or questions also that are coming in, and then we'll switch to the networking using LinkedIn. So there's a question, do we need to mention where we are working currently as sector as well, or just general summary? No, general summary doesn't need to mention exactly where you're working. You can mention that, yeah, your key skills, for example, you're using this technology to do something like that. You can mention that. You don't need to mention the company name, because the company name is by default in your work experience. It also could be there in your header. So you don't need to mention the company name. The other question is, Yeah, the question is, can we get the pamphlet for students? Definitely. Let me add the resources. So that's actually one of my last slides, but I'll just show it right here. So if you go to this this URL, it has 3 or 4 pamphlets. It talks about all the things that I talked today. There are 4 documents in this link. One document is about the LinkedIn profile. One document is about how do you network, which is the section I'm just going to start. One document is how you search jobs, and one document is for students, how you build profile when you don't have experience. So I will keep this up so everybody can actually go to this resource, download those pamphlets, go through them. And this is actually your at-home exercise today. And I will check with everyone tomorrow in Slack to see if you have done that or not. And please share your LinkedIn profile on Slack with me. And I would really like to see and give any feedback on that as well. So there's a thank you. Yeah, so how do you, that's a really good question. How do you convince employer for a vertical industry change? So there are 2 ways in LinkedIn profile that you can do that. One, mention the interchangeable skills that you are taking from one industry to another. There are different ways to do that, either through your past experience. In the section of that experience itself, highlight those skills in a way that when somebody is reading through that, if let's say you are a supply chain manager, now you're moving towards a technical program manager, but maybe a different domain, right? What are the skills that you gain in that particular job that are relatable or that are transferable to this new role? So that is one way to do that. And in the actual experience, you can mention those skills. How I have done in my LinkedIn profile, again, there are different ways to do that. I put my skills on the top and then the actual experience. You can do a combination of that way, or you can do like a mix, like in the sentence itself, highlight those things. The other way is in the summary section. So in the summary section, when the last 2 lines, as I mentioned, the 3rd paragraph, you can mention about what you want to do next. What are your goals, right? So in that goals, you can say that you want to transition to this role, and or you are transitioning to this role, and this is why you are transitioning, or these are the skills that you have, and this is the reason you're doing it. You don't have to put the reason out there, but it's up to you. So I can if you write something out, I can give you some feedback on that also to help you with that. But transitioning is very common. A lot of PWIC leadership team has experience in transitioning. I can refer you to those folks as well. There are a few talks also that we have actually on the Career Fair Day that you can listen into about transitioning careers. How do you switch careers? How do you highlight those in your profile as well? And stay tuned for those. But definitely there are several ways in LinkedIn profile itself that you can do that. So there's a question about, does LinkedIn Premium works better than the free one? So it's a very good question. I'm not here to sell LinkedIn Premium, so I will not ask you to go to LinkedIn Premium just for the sake of LinkedIn Premium. But during the search, when you are searching jobs, LinkedIn Premium has some features where what the non-premium version does not have, right? For example, you can send the messages to people who you are not connected to, I think up to 5 or 10, I don't remember the exact number, but you can send that many messages. But if you're not connected in the free version, you cannot send those messages. There's a limit on that. So Premium allows you to do that. That's a feature. If you want to send people who you're not connected to, you can use LinkedIn Premium for that. And I'll get to the LinkedIn courses in a second. So I see another question. So LinkedIn Premium definitely has some features. Again, look at that if you are in that. If you look at they're in the Premium also, there are 2 versions. Look at that, look at the features, what you get out of that, and if that's something you need, then go to Premium. I think there's 1 month free Premium for anyone to try as well, so you can go and try it out. If it doesn't work out, you can always back out as well. So look at that. If there's something that is something you really need, then use it. Otherwise, for me, without Premium also works. But depending on what you are, what your needs are from LinkedIn, you can change that. So I'll move to the professional networking section right now, and then we are going to talk about some of these extra things and like extra credits of what other things you can do in LinkedIn. So LinkedIn courses is actually one of them, and I see a question already there. So LinkedIn connections, right? I just wanted to share this, that 50% of hires result from a personal connection. So again, this is backed up by data that a lot of hiring is actually through personal connections, it's through referrals, it's through people knowing who you know, who you know, what you know, right? So the LinkedIn connections are really, really important. So how do you know that what your connections are? So this is how LinkedIn defines it. So there is a first degree connection is everybody that you're connected to. Then everybody that they are connected to is your second degree connection. And then beyond that is third degree and more. So anyone that the second degree connection is connected to or the first degree connection is connected to is your third degree. So that is your entire professional network, right? You start with your first degree. And again, I'm talking just on LinkedIn network, not in your company, not outside of that. That's your entire network. And that's how you get connected with more folks and you show up in more research and all of those. I want to talk about specifically why you should network with people and how you should network. I get a lot of cold messages asking that, can I refer people to Microsoft? Yes, I can refer you, but I can refer you if I know that you've given me enough data to prove that you are the right fit for that job. So it's very important when you're sending somebody, and I'm going to talk about that, and it's actually in the resources also. What are the good ways or right ways to send a connection request? So this is an example. When you're writing somebody, don't just click connect. No. Send a message to them. Take some time to understand why you want to connect with them. Don't connect with me today just after listening to this talk just because you think that you should connect with me. No. You should connect with me if you think that I can help some way or the other in your career. I can be your mentor. I can connect you with other folks if I can help you in anything. And your connection message should reflect that to me. I say no to a lot of requests that come my way that I don't know why they're connecting with me. I don't have time. And again, I'm taking my example as it doesn't mean that I'm talking about myself here. Nobody has this time to actually go and look through your LinkedIn profile and understand why you're connecting with me, right? So it's very important when you are sending a message to somebody, do your research, understand what they have done in the past, relate your work with them, and why you want to connect. And don't just do connect for connect. Like that's unbearable for me, honestly. So please connect with folks that could add value to your professional network. It's really, really important. Write down in your message, there's a limit of the words that you can use in that message in the free version. So of course, be cognizant of that, but write down why you want to connect with me and why I can add any value to your network. So very important. Second thing, this is very simple. How do you find out your existing connections? This is the different ways you can do. You can look at your current or former colleagues. You can search by company. You can search by any of your job roles. You can search of any of those things. And LinkedIn has features that shows, like for example, if I search on Microsoft, it shows me that is this your teammate or not, and there are different options that you can search on. So that's how you discover these people. Again, there is a way to search and further look at what your like first degree, so this is how you look at like the first or second degree connections. You can search by locations and you can search by the current companies, and there are several other filters also. But these are the three most common ones, how people search for people. So either through the connection length or the location or the current company, because that's the most relevant for a lot of people. Search for new connections. Again, you can click connect on them. You can send them a message like this and send an invitation. That's how you do that. This is something, again, we recommend that you always add a personalized message and make it clear to the other person why you're reaching out. Please, please, please do not send like random connects and do not send messages which makes no sense to me that why you're connecting with me. So do your research, figure out why you're connecting with me, and then click connect. Cannot emphasize enough on it. It's really important that you do your homework before you're connecting with anyone. It could be a potential employers, it could be a potential mentor, it could be a potential hiring manager, it could be anyone. So please, please, please always do your research before you send connects to people on LinkedIn. And I see some saying that +1 why you want to connect. Yeah, and some people have disabled their connect because they get too many people just connecting to them. So please, please, please do your work. So this is an example of why and how you can connect strategically. So why you should connect with me. If you and I have something common, that's one reason you should connect with me. If you and I want to work at the same company, have a job or company that interests you, then that's another reason. And it's not and or, it's a combination of those things. And then People you think might be able to connect with other people, that's another reason why you should connect with somebody, right? And what should you say is, this is a summary: who you are, how you came across my profile, and how can I help you. Very important. Please, please, please put that out there in your message when you're connecting. Use your network to LinkedIn to basically connect with other folks. So there are these other things that I talked about very briefly in the before. So connections is one way that you can improve your network or connect with more people, right? You can ask for people when you're connecting with them for informational interviews. That's another thing as well. Do not go today and just ask everybody in dot, but please think that if somebody can really add value to you, ask them in a message that do they have 10-15 minutes to do an informational interview. And by information interview, if you want to know more about, let's say, my team, my work, anything that you think, and if you've seen a position open related to that, then it makes sense to me to actually accept that connection request and actually set up that time with you to understand and give you overview of what I do, right? So that's another way you can connect with folks. You can request for referrals for the people that you've worked with before. That's another great feature in the LinkedIn profile. There's an option you can ask for that. Again, that's one reason why you should connect with the people that you're asking them to refer you in their companies. There is a feature in LinkedIn which talks about recommendations. So anyone that you've worked with before, they can recommend you. They can write a little bit of text about you that will go and will be public in your profile. Again, once they write a recommendation, it's up to you to accept that or not. But that's a section that you can always add in your profile. And then, of course, add value and engage. So there are different ways you can add value and engage, and I'll talk about that in a second. So this is a fact, again, through LinkedIn data, which is proven that there's 4x times more higher chance for you to getting hired if you're referred, if you know somebody in the company, if you know the team, if you know the culture, you understand where you're applying at. So LinkedIn is a great way to connect with those folks, find out what they do, and see if you are the right match for that team or the company or not. Again, this is an example of how you should message. Again, some very good example over here. I'm currently exploring this position. This is an example if you are asking for somebody for information interview. This video is being recorded. You can always take a snapshot of this as well. This is a good example of how you will send somebody that I want to have a 20-minute chat with you, a coffee chat or a virtual chat these days. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. You can request referrals. This is how you ask somebody if you worked with them before. This referral case is actually not work before. Recommendation is the working before. So referral is somebody you want to work at their company. Let's say you want to work in Microsoft. You want me to refer you in the internal system. This is an example of how you would ask about that. And this is, again, a fact that 60% of the workforce right now in US, this is a US fact, is actually referred by somebody in the company. So referral is a great system. Any of the companies you want to work at, figure out who's working over there, especially if they are in the same team. It's really important that you reach out to them. The other thing I want to highlight here, and I'll take a pause here, is a lot of people connect when they're looking for roles. That is something that we all do. But what I realized in my tech career is that network is not something that you should just build when you're actually starting your job search. It's a thing that you should work on throughout your career. You should keep up with that. So today, if I have some set of mentors, every 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I set up check-ins with those. I have a set of mentees that I have set up check-ins with them. So I continue to see what they are up to and what I am up to. So in future, when I have to make that job search, they would be there to actually do that referral. I do not prefer folks that just connect for the sake of that time period and then they just go MIA for some time, right? So it's important that this network is something you treat them as your sort of like how your mentors or your system works, right? So connect with folks, keep that connection warm, check in with them, and then make sure that once you need that role, they would be there. Because if you've connected with me and you've forgotten about it for like 6 months or maybe 2 years, and then out of a sudden I get a message from that you want a referral, I have no idea, I've forgotten already who you are, why should I refer you, right? So it's important that you keep up, you keep that connection going and keep that network going. It's important that the referral means that somebody is putting their name with your name and saying that I think this person would be the right person for the job. If I don't know you, I will not do that referral. So it's very important for me to understand that you are the right person for this job, so that I put my name next to your name when I'm talking to the hiring manager or recruiting manager, right? Because in the system, it shows who referred you. So it's very important that you reflect that, you keep the connection going. Do not send cold messages to people for referrals. That's not the right way. So again, I cannot emphasize enough of that. I get enough of referral requests. I accept those who I know, who I've seen their work, who I trust that they can do the work. But I will not refer you if I don't know what you have done. I will not refer you if I don't know why you're connecting with me. So just wanted to highlight that. Request recommendation, that's the last part. So you can ask anybody who you have worked with before in a previous company to put a recommendation for you on LinkedIn, and that can show in the section. Data has not shown that recommendation actually makes a lot of make or break type situations, but again, this is something which is good to have. If you have recommendations on the profile, it's good. But data doesn't show that if you don't have any recommendations that you will not get hired. The other sections that I talked before are actually more important than recommendations, but this is a feature that you can definitely use and ask your previous colleagues to give a recommendation for you, or your current colleagues also. You can ask them to give a recommendation for you. So it's there, and it's there for future also. So some of my recommendations are actually 6 years, 8 years ago, and they're still my mentor. So I've kept them on my profile because I still am in touch with them, and I still take advice from them because they are my mentors. So if there's somebody that you think could recommend you, could be your ally, ask them to actually put recommendation for you on your LinkedIn profile. So just to summarize, other ways you can actually engage in the network. So invest your time with the connections and requests, invest your time figuring out why you want to connect with them, invest your time to keep that connection alive also. Like and share, this is another thing. So if you are on LinkedIn, there are a lot of people share a lot of those things. So you can like, you can share, you can comment. That's another way you can keep the connection going. You don't have to set up a coffee chat with everyone every 6 weeks or 2 months, but if you are engaged with them one way or the other, that's another way to actually keep the connection going. Or reshare their post if you think that's useful for your network. That's another way. Groups is another area. A lot of people don't know about it, or a lot of people don't spend a lot of time on it. I'm personally part of a lot of like big data, AI, cloud computing groups where I engage with a lot of blogs and stuff, and I share them in all of the other social medias as well. But groups is a great way to actually get the knowledge about a particular domain or find like-minded people over there. And of course, testimonials, recommendations is another way that you can find out about these things. This is another, it's actually a relatively newer feature in your picture itself. There is a way to actually add open to work, which will show all the recruiters that you're looking for work right now. So you can do that right now. You can also look at jobs you may be interested in. So this is a default feature in LinkedIn that comes in. You can search based on, it actually looks at your profile and shows you the jobs you may be interested in. That's a good way to actually see if your profile is correct or not, right? If it's showing you, if let's say you are currently a data engineer, and if you go to this jobs you may search and it's showing you something totally different, that shows that something in your profile is actually pointing you towards some other roles. So that's an inbuilt feature. You can actually create search alerts as well on particular jobs. Once the jobs becomes available, you'll get a notification there is a job with your terms that you were looking at. This is a fact. There's a 34 million plus job seekers. LinkedIn job seekers visit LinkedIn jobs every week. It's just let that sink in. So that many people actually are looking for jobs. So your profile is one of those. So how do you stand out? Again, all the things that we talked about. If you are doing all the things right, you're engaging, you're commenting, you're getting the recommendations, you are in the right network, you have the right network around you, you have a higher possibility to kind of stand out. This is the feature I was talking about, the open to work feature. So you can click get started using that option right there. It's showing on the left hand side, and it shows that you can share with the LinkedIn members or you can share with just recruiters. It has both options. So that's a neat feature in a sense, because If you don't want your company to know, let's say you're currently working somewhere and you're just looking for roles and you don't want the rest of the company and anybody else knowing, you can choose that only recruiters will see. So anybody with a recruiter title will only see that, that you're open to work. Other people will not see that. So while you're doing that, that's an option. You can choose that and it will show up like that. And it will not show up to the rest of the LinkedIn network. This is a very straightforward feature. You can search for career opportunities. You can actually search by different keywords, title, company, experience level, when they were posted, and just explore this feature and actually put alerts for you so that you can get, this is the alert feature that you can put search alerts of anything that shows up with any of these things. It could be industry, it could be date when a job is getting posted, let's say in Microsoft or Google or XYZ, whichever company you want to work at with a particular job title, you'll get an alert that there is a job that was just posted. So you will be the first one to know and you can go and actually go and apply over there. This is a neat feature. If you have not used it, please do that. That way you can find jobs that are available. And this is again an inbuilt AI feature. It shows the jobs you may be interested in. So and this is a good way to actually, as I said, to know if your profile actually reflects what roles you're looking for. And it matches based on the text that's in your profile and shows you all the roles that are related to your current profile. Again, this is based on your work experience, skills, and the location information. It's very important. Location is important for the internal algorithm. The other ways, again, extra things, you can follow companies, you can follow, join groups, you can gain some in-demand skills. So that's the last part I wanted to quickly cover here, that LinkedIn has a LinkedIn Learning, which is in itself another section of LinkedIn, where you can go and do a lot of these courses and actually can get credit for that and put that back on your profile as well. A lot of those courses are actually free as well. There are some really great courses about the most in-demand skills. You can search for that, go to opportunity.linkedin.com, and you can start looking at those skills and taking those courses and add them to your profile as well. There is also there is a very good section in there about developing your like interview prep and those sections. So those are also some really good features that you can, really good interview practice type courses that you can take over there. So you can search on that. There is actually a course about behavioral interview questions, which is a very common one. A lot of people ask those questions. Tell me a time where you did XYZ, or tell me a time when something, tell me a weakness, tell me something like, so all of those behavioral questions, there's a very good course about it. So again, go to opportunity.linkedin.com, find out about these things, and you can do these courses, and these are some extra things you can do on LinkedIn as well. And last but not least, join groups, as I mentioned. That is another way you can actually get connected to like-minded folks, like-minded technology, other people who are in this space, who are doing some different things, and you can post stuff over there. These groups are, some of them are public, some of them are private, so you might have to apply to join, and admin has to accept you. Please search for those groups and join them if they are of your interest. So that brings me to the end of this section. This is my one exercise for you to do at home. Again, I will check with you all tomorrow on the Slack to see if you have done that. So two things. One, you have to practice your brand statement, which means that what are the things that make you unique? Use those words in your LinkedIn profile. Also put them in your elevator pitch. So if you attended the session yesterday, we talked about that in more detail. It's very important that you have that ready, you practice that enough. So when you are talking, and the first question everybody asks in the interview is, tell me about yourself. So what are you going to tell me in that will gain my interest to actually make that first great impression about you and continue with the interview. The second part is the LinkedIn profile itself. There are 4 things you all have to go out today and update. All of these extra things you can definitely do that we talked about, is add your summary section, the guidelines I already gave you, update your picture if it's not up to what I expressed as a good LinkedIn profile picture, update your headline, which should summarize who you are. And when I search for you, it's inviting enough for me to actually go and click on your profile or message you from there. And then, of course, add your skills and work experience over there. This is the resources page. I know we are 4 minutes over, so I will take a few more questions here, maybe 5 more minutes, and then we'll end this call, and I'll be available on Slack to answer 4 other questions and update with that. So again, thank you so much for listening. I know we had some technical problems yesterday. Hope this session was useful for you, and you all have great LinkedIn profile after this, and you actually rock your LinkedIn profile after this. So I'll just go through some questions here. So I see Daniela saying that I'm an amazing mentor. Thank you, Daniela. So Daniela is actually one of my mentees. She is from South America, and she's awesome herself. So thank you, Daniela, for being here. I have a question. What advice do you have for someone who career gap and transitioning into design? So yeah, so Nida, your question about the career gap, I think we did touch that in yesterday's session as well. What are the skills that are transferable? What are the certifications you have done? What are the volunteer works that you have done? What are the things? Highlight those in your summary section, highlight those in even your work experience and volunteer section. That is a good way to actually fill in. And we do have in the PVIC Slack some really great mentors like Farah Khurram that can help you. She returned to work after 13 years of break. So definitely we have several mentors that can help you and ask this question in Slack also. In LinkedIn profile, again, use those sections the way you think will highlight those skills. Even when you are on break, you have done several other things that you can mention. And if you're doing some projects, if you have started a GitHub, highlight those projects, highlight those things. One of the things that I didn't mention in this slides and was not related is do open source work. I personally do a lot of open source work, which is not paid, but this is my way of learning or staying close to the coding world, right? Close to my roots and understanding what is going on out there. So definitely use that. Thank you, Sidra. It's a very useful section. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sundas. I'll just see quickly if there are any other questions. Is there any way LinkedIn to find it? There are a lot of jobs which are just for public announcement. Is there any way to LinkedIn to find? I don't understand your question, Osama, clearly, but if you search for the jobs and there are a lot of those, then I think you should go in individually and look at those roles and see if they are there's an apply to that job button, right? Some roles have a direct apply button on LinkedIn. Some they actually direct you to their website, and that's where you have to go and apply. But your search alerts and features could be based on a company and the title that you're looking for. So definitely use that. I'm just browsing up and seeing if there's any other question that I've missed. Oh, there's a question. So how do you find a mentor on LinkedIn if you haven't worked with them before but admire their experience? Yes. So it's through a couple of ways, right? So either through that first degree connection or second degree connection. I would not recommend to go to that third degree and beyond to find a mentor, because if you don't have anything common in that connection, that's highly likely they will not be able to connect with you. But look at that first and second degree connections and look at the skills. There's a way in, again, LinkedIn to search for those. And actually go find them and then send them a message why you want to be. I personally have taken a few mentors this year, again based on my time. Again, it would depend on the mentor if they have the time for you or not, but send them the message why you want to be their mentee, why you want to connect with them, and again do your work, to do your research to actually understand why you want to do that. There's a question about if headline is longer than one line, is it unprofessional? I would say it's not unprofessional, but I think it's hard because as I showed you in the screenshot, that was the recruiter screenshot. So that's what they see. So it's basically the first line. So even if it's longer than that, it starts cutting off. So it's important that the first 2 or 3 words in your headline are enough for me, or with your picture and your title is enough for me to actually click on you. So don't make it your, like I said, it's not summary of everything you've done. It's just top 2, 3 things that I should know about you. So not make it very long. Just few words, few keywords about you. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. I see a lot of dramatic headlines. It works for folks, it's fine, but it doesn't have to be super dramatic, like explorer and like work in progress. There are some very interesting headlines out there. So I would say keep it focused, keep it professional, keep it to the words that describe you and why I should hire you. So keep it short also. These days, time is the biggest thing, and nobody has time. So just if it's super crisp, to the point, and gives me what I want to actually hire you, I think actually start the conversation, not really hire you, but just start the conversation. That's a good starting point. Yeah, there's some same questions in more than one line. So yeah, headline shouldn't be. I would not recommend to go with headline more than one. The summary section, yes, you can put more lines in there, not more than one line. Cool. Moderators can tell me if there's any questions I missed. If not, I think we are at time. Again, thank you so much. This is available on our Facebook. It will be available on YouTube. I will check the Slack tomorrow also to answer any questions. All the resources are right here. We'll share this link in the Slack as well. And again, thank you so much for being here, for being part of the Get High 2020 event. All the volunteers, all the leads are super excited to have you all here. And we look forward to actually making connections with you and making sure to help you in your career journey. And all the best, all the best. Thank you. Bye.